Hello, everyone. Welcome to Jamaica 411, where lies die and truth prevails. If you're here with me for the first time, welcome. Welcome. We're so happy to have you here. If you're here, as always, supporting the channel whenever I upload a video, you're here because you've hit the notification button, you've subscribed, and you'd like to hear what we have to say, because when you come here, we're doing some very deep analysis, not just talking, but we do our research and bring you as accurate information as possible. For persons who may not have subscribed already, please subscribe. Remember, if you like the video, go ahead and press that like button. And it's important that you also help the channel by sharing. I would like you all to know that I appreciate you very much, because without you, we would not be growing as we are. Over 6,000 subscribers. And I want to thank everyone who is with me today and will be with me in the future. So now you must be wondering, what am I coming to trouble you with this time around? Because I did promise you to speak on the Paula Llewellyn matter. Well, it was a little bit more involved than I anticipated. So I will be bringing you that analysis later on. I had to read a court judgment. I prefer to read these things and listen. So I read it. There is two other pieces of documents I need to read. The letters that was written by Kathy Pike and the letter that Paula Llewellyn wrote in response to her. I feel it necessary that I must read those before I get at what is possibly the reason why Paula wants to stay and why the government is jumping through hoops in order to accommodate her. So you'll have that later. But in the meantime, I am bringing you some more information on the Ian Hills and the TEF water tanks saga. And in doing so, I am going to give you some information that may help you to understand what is motivating Ian Hills in this created mess that he created. Now, you will recall that Ian Hills was the MP for Western Hanover since 2007. But before he was the MP for Western Hanover, he was one of the secretaries to Edward Seaga in the Jamaica Labour Party. Yes, he was a Labourite. My understanding is, though, that he is from PMP stock. In other words, his family is PMP. And he may have intended to join the PNP, but for some reason, he did not. I will try and find out for you when I bring any more information as to the reason why he didn't end up in the PNP and ended up in the JLP. Very high up, if he can be so close to Seaga. Seaga thought very highly of him. When he left the Jamaica Labour Party, Bruce Golding had taken over. Perhaps there was a falling out which influenced him to leave the Jamaica Labour Party. Being an ambitious young man and wanting to be in the parliament, as so many of them do, they cross over and join the opposition party. But their heart is where they were from the very beginning. I can tell you that I liked Ian Hills. He seemed very well. He's a handsome young man, and he seemed very diligent in those days, and quiet, and was doing his work in the constituency as best as he could. It seemed as if, as always with human beings, sometimes they join up with bad company. And the bad company that he joined up with was in the name of Peter Bunting. You will recall that in 2016, when the PNP lost the election, general election, that he was the one that came out to ask Portia to give them and the country a timeline for when she's leaving. This is Portia, At that time, none of us knew that Peter Bunting had his eyes set on the leadership. None of us knew that the 10 challenges to sitting members of parliament was all orchestrated by him and Mark Golding. We didn't know that. But at the time, they had a small crew working. And one of the things that they needed to ensure if Peter Bunting was ever going to be leader is that the next in line, who was at the time Dr. Peter Phillips, because I do believe, and I've always thought, that part of the agreement that was brokered to unite the two factions that had developed in the party at that time, when Peter Phillips challenged Portia won by only 200 votes. So the delegates were split as to who it is that they wanted to lead the party. And I've always suspected that one of the things that they devised between them was that after Portia demits office, Peter would have gotten it. And this is why you notice that when Portia left, Dr. Peter Phillips was put in the position by acclamation. There was no election. And this was why I believe that it must have been an agreement that they had before, and they were carrying out their promise to him that he would have been the next leader. So Bunting knew that the only way he was ever going to be leader, and he was in a mad rush to be leader, he didn't want to wait, was if Dr. Peter Phillips was prevented from becoming leader of the PNP. And had the People's National Party won the election in 2016, with Portia at the head, it was almost a certainty that she would have demitted office maybe a year after, maybe 2, and Dr. Peter Phillips then, because she would have been the prime minister, Dr. Peter Phillips would automatically, it could be arranged automatically to have him installed as the new party leader. And once he's the prime minister, you can't do nothing. Nothing you can do, because he has power now. Only God have more power than the prime minister in this country. But I see them doing things to limit that power now. So it was essential for the People's National Party to lose the general election in 2016. It was essential for the People's National Party to lose the election in 2016 if Dr. Peter Phillips and the plan that they would have anticipated, I'm talking about Bunting and Golding, they would have anticipated that if PNP had won, Portia would be there for a while, Dr. Phillips would take over, and then he would be prime minister. And that would be that for them. They would have to wait maybe 10 or 15 years before Bunting can become leader. Bunting was also not a very popular man. Whenever they did opinion poll, he was 3%. So he had a lot to overcome. He was also not liked much in the party because he has an arrogance and a cockety way about him. He's a very short man, I've never seen him. So he has a very cockety way about him, and he wasn't much liked. And so he has that to overcome. But he had the means to overcome all of these disadvantages. And the means would have been money. He had money, and he had organizational skills to some extent, and he was a master at manipulation, and still is. So all of those things that you saw that was happening in the PNP, the first things that you saw were the undermining of the councillors, the mayors. There was the one, the Cascas in Hanover with Sharnette Horton. You had the Cascas in Morant Bay where the PNP mayor was removed and replaced with somebody else. it would be PNP still. And they attempted the same thing in St. Mary. And how we know now that it was a plot, all of them, because we were told that when they were trying to remove the mayor in St. Mary, Vaz and Montague, these are two GLP people, had gone and approached one of the councillors, the PNP councillors, and said to him, help us to remove the present mayor, who's a PNP mayor, and we will use our support, and you can use your other support in the PNP, and we will make you mayor. Well, the young councillor said he's going to think about it and went to another senior councillor, tell him what they said to him. And that senior councillor said, shh, 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 don't say nothing yet. Don't tell them no. Tell them yes, you'll do it. Make us see what they are up to. And tell them that I am also in agreement with it, right? So that I can know and come into the deal. And that's what the young fellow did. And the four of them would meet and they would talk. And I was told that the things that came out of the mouths of both Darrell Vaz and Bobby Montague about what is going on inside the PNP, the former councillor said that there is no way they could have known that unless somebody inside the PNP was giving them that information. Now, nobody knew how these things were connected at that time. It is only after the fact, when you look back and when you saw what was happening then, and you compare to what was happening at the time, which was these whole heap of challenges to the sitting councillors when they thought the election would have been called in August of 2021. There was a whole heap of challenges by these risers to sitting PNP councillors who did not support them, right? That's when we saw the connection between what they were doing at that time in 2021 and looking backwards and realizing that that was what they were doing in 2016. It is a playbook. In 2015, you remember there were several challenges. You had the Cascas with Damian Crawford in East Rural. You had the Cascas with Raymond Price in Northeast St. Elizabeth. You had 10 different MPs being challenged, including Dr. Bloomfield. And all of this was designed to make the PNP appear to be a divided party. Because we all know in Jamaica that when your party is divided, it cannot win an election. People won't vote for you. And right up to the 9th hour, they went and they challenged Lisa Hanna. Lisa Hanna became a target of theirs because Lisa Hanna she was the one, I believe, started this this kind of movement, renewal, as a sort of a thing and that's what you do when you want to effect change. You try and get support for the change, and they thought they had her and Damien, and when they realized, Lisa and Damien, that these people are about something quite different from renewal. They're about some kind of an attempt to advance Peter Bunting's interest. They withdrew and they went after them. But when they really went after Lisa Hanna was when a poll came out in 2015 when they asked, after Portia Simpson Miller, who do you think is most likely to take over as party leader? The polls revealed that 18% of the respondents said Peter Phillips. 13% of the respondents said Lisa Hanna. And Bunting was way back. And it was from then that they started in earnest to attack Lisa Hanna. Put up our councillor Lydia Richards to challenge her. And this happened. And the challenge was conducted in November of 2015. 2015, the party was divided because of what Bunting and Golding, Dayton Campbell and Ian Hayes were doing under the quiet, manipulating things. So then what happened? somebody went to Portia Simpson and encouraged her to call the election. Call the election, call the election. And she went and called the election nearly a year before it was due. 1 year before it was due. Election was not due until January of 2017. She called the election at the time when all of that was going on in the party. And then at the end, losing the 2016 general election by 1 seat, having lost several marginal seats because of her enormous popularity and the fact that people love Portia. They were prepared to go ahead with Portia again, and some of them decided to defect. Not to mention the $18,000 that some believed that they were going to get. So the young people thought they were going to get some free money, and they went and voted for the Labour Party. After the PNP lost the election, let me start from there. After the PNP lost the election in 2016, Peter Bunting decided to push up his head and realized that he could not win. Dr. Bly decided to challenge Portia, and it was a wipeout. At the end of the time, Dr. Peter Phillips was installed by the MPs as the leader of the opposition. It was all by acclamation, meaning that there were no challengers. So he was installed as the opposition leader as well as party president. And they were plotting, and they plotted. And in 2019, Bunting challenged, lost the challenge, but it was very close. The delegates again were undecided and divided as to the person that should lead the party. Whenever you see you have an election and the delegates are voting so close, they are divided, and it's because of their division why the party end up divided. Usually, the loser would try and unite the party with the leader and move on because they lost. This time around, Peter Bunting's ambition was more important to him, and gaining leadership of the PNP was more important to him, as one would expect for a man who spent over $650 million up to that time trying to take control of the PNP. So Ian Hales was a part of that group. They formed a WhatsApp group called Rise United Strategist Group. Several of the MPs, with Nikisha Burchell, she was the admin who opened the group. She and Peter Bunting were the admins. So they added whoever it was that they wanted in the strategist group. And the whole idea with the strategist group is that they were going to mount another challenge at the conference in 2020 if there was no election. So they set about forming groups. Some of them were fake. And they were also running alongside the PNPs. Now, you know, a party has a leader, and the leadership comes up with the policies that they intend to pursue if they form the next government. While the PNP was out there talking about land reform and all these things, there was Peter Bunting and his crew, Mark Golding, Dayton Campbell, you had Ian Hales, Angela Brown Burke, Colin Fagan, Donovan Mitchell, you had Luther Buchanan, you have Fenton Ferguson. Those MPs were in it. Donovan Mitchell was the mayor of Mandeville at the time. He eventually walked away from the group because he realized that what they were doing was installing Peter Bunting was damaging the party. So he took himself away from that. In the end, they were not satisfied that the PNP would lose the election, even though the party was so divided, because the electorate who voted in the Labour Rights, the Jamaica Labour Party in 2016, that extra 30,000, they had left them. Those are the swing voters. Not being sure that the PNP would lose after they set up everything for the PNP to lose, they decided to embark on a sabotage campaign of certain seats that they were targeting. They targeted those seats such as Central Kingston with Imani Duncan, West Rural St. Andrew, that was Tomlinson, Crystal Tomlinson. Then you have Horton in St. James. They targeted Western St. Mary with Stanford. They also targeted Central Westmoreland with Dwayne Vaz, Northern Trelawney with Victor Wright, and also they targeted East Central St. Catherine with Raymond Price. There were others that they targeted. But as old time people say, when you dig a pit, make sure you dig two. Because not only did they sink some of those seats, but all of them lost their seats, including their leader, Peter Bunting. 1 and 2 survived, and one of them, of course, was Lisa Hanna's seat. That was the seat that was targeted the most. So the long and short of what I'm trying to tell you is that Ian Hales and that crew, there were about 15 MPs who were part of that crew. Some of them were not returning. During the election campaign of 2020, while the PNP was out with a message building Jamaica, something to that effect, they decided to try out their own campaign strategy and decided that they were going to win the election as a group, as if they were a third party, but they were running under the PNP's ticket. Ian Hales was one of them, pictured wearing orange but not with a PNP logo on it. I think he may have been wearing black, as a matter of fact, or white polo shirt. Very different message from the message that the PNP was carrying. You had Dayton Campbell being endorsed with Mark Golding like he's a leader. They were advising Peter Phillips not to work with the candidates because, he's not much loved. And for those candidates that Peter Phillips was not working with, Bunting and Mark Golding was working with them as if they were the leaders. So the division went on in the election campaign in earnest. The comrades on the ground saw what was happening. Two different messages, and must have asked themselves, so. And in the end, it was all of them, all of those risers who stood with Bunting that lost their seats, except Angela and Mark, because them couldn't lose them seat. They were the ones who lost. Of the 29 MPs that were in the parliament, 29 PNP MPs, those who lost their seats were people who joined. So it was a total rejection of them. PNP people are PNP people. Them no risers. So when they were coming with their Rise United, wearing all them party shirts on a campaign trail, as if they're it's a different party they represent, and the people rejected them, and Ian Hales fell with them after serving the Western Hanover constituency as MP since 2007. So quite a number of them decided that they could not win, having damaged themselves among the comrades, because the comrades on the ground in their constituency saw what they were doing. There is no way they could go back to that constituency and win. So you see them shift themselves to constituencies that they undermine and ensure that the constituency lost. Those are the seats that they went back into. Ian Hales was in fact trying for Central Westmoreland, and he was absolutely rejected. So he went over into Western Westmoreland, which they did not actively try to sabotage Wickham McNeil. No, Wickham McNeil sabotaged himself with his poor representation, apparently. So he's now in Western Westmoreland. But he has a problem there. And I'm going to show you some numbers. The PNP in 2007 won Western Westmoreland by 2,381 votes. The PNP had 8,227 votes and the JLP 5,846. By 2011, with the Portia factor, people got excited, want Portia to lead, and so some extra people came out and voted for the PNP. Some nearly 700 more people, more than 700 more people came out. So they had 8,940, while the Labour Party lost about 600 votes. They had only 5,260. But by the time 2016 rolled in, Vicar McNeil lost quite a number of votes. He dropped from 8,940 to 6,679. But the Labour Party lost votes too. They went down to 5,186. When 2020 came around and the division in the PNP was more pronounced, and we did not have a Portia Simpson, Dr. Peter Phillips was popular, well liked, but they demonized him. They were demonizing him during the process. And so a lot of comrades would have lost faith, and also with the divisiveness and the division in the party, a lot of people stayed home. And so the PNP got only 5,095 votes. So between 2016 and 2020, the PNP lost 3,845 votes, while the Jamaica Labour Party increased their vote tally from over 2016 by nearly 1,000. They ended up with the most they've ever had in Westmoreland, 6,148. So just as I'm looking at the numbers with you, so is Ian Hales looking at the numbers as well. And he would realize that he needs to get back at least over 1,000, maybe 1,500 of those votes, those PNP votes that left the PNP because of people like him, right? With them undermining the leadership of the party in the hope that the party would lose the election and then they will be able to challenge for the leadership. So they undermine the party in order to elevate themselves to the leadership. He is now vice president, so he was rewarded. And any seat that he wanted, he was going to get, because he had a great deal to do with putting Mark Golding in the position that he's in. So Ian has a bit of a problem. And it is looking at the problem and the fact that he's not accepted by many comrades in Western Westmoreland, that he is in desperate need to create some problems for the MP, the Jamaica Labour Party MP. And apparently he thought that the distribution of water tanks to farmers and the residents was it. And that's what he did. What he could not find, he made up. So he went to one place and found only 5 drums and claimed up to the Saturday before there was 35 drums, right? 35 drums, and he thought that the man was able to sell 30 drums in a day or two. That's what he's trying to get us to believe, because he's making the claim that these drums are being sold by these Labour Party operatives. He then repaired himself and went to another location. Now, I understand there were 3 locations. Some reason he never go to the other locations that had the TEF stickers on the drums, on the 650-gallon drums. He didn't go to those places. He went somewhere else where he must have known that there were other drums. I don't know what he thought he knew about these people, but he decided that that is where he's going to go with his story to claim that the MP is corruptly distributing the government water tanks that's supposed to be for farmers, and they're giving it to one person. Because where that car wash is located, I'm told, is on the main road from Negril to Sablamar. It is at a four-way road, I'm told, by my friend in Westmoreland. It's at a four-way road. The main road is Negril to Sablamar and a road cross. I'm told that when you're on the road to Sablamar, the car wash is on the left-hand side at the corner, and across the street of the four-way road on the other corner is the Jamaica Labour Party office. They're on the main road. So Ian Hayes must know that those tanks were there, and he must know that those tanks were there from March. So therefore, he must know that what he's telling you cannot be true. But he decided to tell it to you all the same. Those tanks are much larger tanks. They are 1,000-gallon tanks from rock solid water tank. You could see the labels on them when Jim was speaking in the background. And if you doubt that what you're hearing is true, or what you're seeing is true, just count the ridges on the water tanks. Each ridge is 1,000-gallon, and you will see that on his tank you have 10 ridges. Count from the bottom all the way up, there are 10 ridges, which means there are 10 1,000-gallon water tanks. So he would not have seen the TEF tags because they were not TEF water tanks. So he's definitely setting out to deceive. And then when he's called out on it and the TVJ reporter went to him, rather than admit that he's wrong or just disappear, he's opening his mouth and furthering the problem and then doubling down and then saying, I have nothing more to say. Of course you don't have nothing more to say because you know you're lying. And you have been found out because you're not only lying but you're careless with it too. Because there are people out here with sense. We're not looking for receipts. Because if the man had bought those drums cash and never had a receipt, there was still evidence that those tanks were not the same water tanks that the TEF is distributing. So all we have to do is to look to see whether or not there were 650-gallon tanks that was on that car wash premises, or there were some other tanks, because the tanks is what are in dispute, and therefore it's the tanks that must provide the evidence of whether or not they are the tanks that the government are distributing. So Ian Hales was caught out in a desperate attempt to gain some kind of traction against all the odds, against the PNP supporters not wanting him there. Don't want him there because according to them, mash up Western Hanover. You couldn't solve Western Hanover water problem. What you're going to do for us? And this is a line of argument that he's up against. Plus, he lost 2 of his council seats because of his attempting to control the constituency. And the people will not have it. They went out and voted for the 2 men. Former PNP councillors turned Labour Party and they went out and voted for them. Send him a message. So I'm going to let you listen. You know, believe it or not, this was intended to be just a 10-minute piece, you know. It's 34 minutes. But anyway, I'm going to let you listen. Because when Ian Hales did the videos, he was calling up Ian Miles' name. Ian Miles is a former PNP councillor who left the PNP because of Ian Hales, joined the Jamaica Labour Party and won back the seat. So Ian Hales is targeting him and asking him and the JLP MP how the water tanks got to the car wash. Right? How it is that these drums that's supposed to be for farmers and people in need, how come 10 of them is on this one location in front of the Jamaica Labour Party constituency office? And we are supposed to believe that because the premises is in front of the Jamaica Labour Party constituency office, that somehow that automatically mean that the people are Labourites. That is the inference that he would like us to draw from his narrative, and call up Ian Miles' name. And since he's a councillor for Little London, Ian Hales is asking Ian Miles to come and explain about these drums. Ian Miles is here now, and he has something to say about what Ian Hales said, calling up his name, and he's explaining to you what the situation is with these water tanks. And then I will be back to close off on the video. Let's listen.
Of the constituency of Westmoreland Western, and in particular, Little London Division. Here am I, Councillor Ian Miles, just to address a few misconceptions, a few deception, a few lies, and just what Ian Hales has reported in some videos that have been circulating on the social media platforms. As councillors, we don't get tanks to distribute. It's just the Member of Parliament who would have gotten such program. So for he to be calling Ian Miles's, and in some instances Garfield James's name, and that in itself tells you that this man is just a mischievous man. There are 5 councillors within the constituency. I've never heard him calling the other 3 councillors' name. So if all of us sits in the municipality of Westmoreland, Westmoreland Municipal Corporation, why is it then that 2 names are being called and the other 3 are not being called? But I want to take it a step further as far as these lies and deception is concerned, and this crave for power, who wants power at any expense, and he will do anything to get power. Let me just show you something. Ian Hales was Minister of State in the Ministry of Water. And I want to ask a question. This condition, this drought condition that currently exists, has been around for over 30 years since I have been in the constituency. I came here in 1994 and I saw it. I've written several letters. I've made numerous representations just to have development of the Bulls Road plant, to have a networking of these pumping stations. And I'm happy to say that the Jamaica Labour Party to date have made tremendous strides in managing to have a multi-billion-dollar plan to upgrade Rowan River and network these stations. So you were there as Minister of State for years. What have you done to contribute to the development of any one of these pumping stations during your tenure? The Logwood one, which was directly in your constituency, and Bulls Road and Rowan River here on the western belt. What did you do? As a matter of fact, tell me some of the achievements that you would have had. Because if my memory serves me right, I can remember the late Roger Clark, when he was Member of Parliament for Central Westmoreland. He got a contract for $1.7 billion signed to develop the same Rowan River plant to take care of the parish. You were the state minister. Why didn't that project went through? Can you tell Westmoreland why did you stop it? I know you come like you have the authority to speak about water. You don't care about nobody but yourself, my brother. The Rock Spring pipeline project that was supposed to be laid to take care of the residents in Heron Peace, Jerusalem Mountain, Mount Eagle. Can you explain why that project did not go through in terms of implementation? Again, the pipelines were left after the project was defunct. They were left up there. Where are the pipelines? Can you answer those questions? Moreland Hill should have gotten water from Cave Valley while you were there as Minister of State. What happened? Why that project did not go through? So in other words, you have done more damage to the parish of Westmoreland and Hanover by extension than anybody else. in my recollection. So how dare do you have the authority to speak about water issues and behave like you care about people and what's happening? I care about people. I love people. I love service, and that's what I do. I don't need to trick people into believing me telling lies. I don't tell lies. As a matter of fact, I don't even know why you're calling up my name. You are the one why I, Ian Miles, left the PNP. I pass you on the road, you call me, I don't even answer you. Because we will not serve in the same space. My integrity must remain intact. And this gross dishonesty and disrespect for people's lives and property that I'm seeing you promulgating, I don't work like that. So I'm begging you, stop trying to deceive and creating anarchy within the constituency. You're a failure, a reject from Hanover. Western Westmoreland needs someone who has the 21st century skills to lead this constituency, not you. Your antiquated style is outdated. That's pre-independence, long before 1962. Papi, get with the time. Westmoreland, don't believe nothing that this man says. This man is just a gross liar. He tells nothing but lies. The car wash guy bought his tanks. These are 1,000 gallons. The member of parliament through the TF program for the farmers, he gave away 650 gallons. How are you going to go there and endanger the lives and livelihood of these business people who are trying their endeavor best to be creative in ensuring that their business survive? You need to stop it, man. The people them tired there already. Don't think that every smile or every kin teeth is laughing, brother. So I hope that would have provided some clarity. Again, let me reiterate, the councils have nothing to do with the tanks. We don't get tanks. These are MP programs. So that's the first lies that would have been promulgated. I'm not the council for Grange Hill. How my name is being called about tanks in Grange Hill. The MP used Grange Hill as a storage facility, smart too, because it's closer to where the farmers are that he's distributing to. So it's cheaper for the people. The ones in Negril is the same thing. Stop it, man. I guess you realize that time is coming, my brother. Yeah, man, and the time is coming when you will get thrown out of the constituency because somebody really wants you. And that is it. So you know, you're just frustrated. All right, so peace out. I love you all, my constituents as usual. God bless you. Have a great day.
Okay, so that was Councillor Ian Miles of the Little London Division in Western Westmoreland. Up next will be a TVJ news item where you will hear the MP, Moreland Wilson, responding to Ian Hill's allegations concerning the distribution of the water tanks. So let's listen.
News now, a business is at risk while a man's life hangs in the balance as a war of words escalates between PNP caretaker for Westmoreland Western, that's Ian Hales, and Member of Parliament Moreland Wilson. Sandy Williams has the details.
We have seen some videos circulating where persons are ascribing different suspicions and allegations to why these tanks are at these locations.
In the viral videos circulating on social media, PNP caretaker for Westmoreland Western, Ian Hales, is making claims that Member of Parliament Moreland Wilson donated 10 water tanks from the Black Tank project to a businessman. Exhibit A.
I want to ask the JLP councillor for the Little London Division, Ian Miles, and the Member of Parliament, more or less, Wilson, how the car wash across from the Jamaica Labour Party office, the constituency office in Mango Hall in Little London, how the car wash get 10 water tanks.
Exhibit B.
If tank come for farmers of Western Westmoreland, the farmer them forget the tank and not a car wash, or one person get 5 or 7. If tanks comes for the residents, for the citizens of Western Westmoreland, or the citizens forget it and not a car wash.
But in a plot twist, Tomlin Dixon, the operator of the car wash in question, is rubbishing the claim. He showed TVJ News this document, which he claims is proof of purchase of the tanks.
504,000 for 9, but I owe the guy for 1. So we'll work out to 560,000. Each of the tanks is 56,000. I sell water right through the night, and people don't have to do them yard to me sell water. I chop off the water, in the day them come and left the money at my car wash.
Since the viral videos, Mr. Dixon says he's been receiving threats that his tanks will be slashed and possibly his life.
Boy, I take it serious. I'm in sleep last night, whole night I peep through that window watching my tanks them. Because I know I work hard, night and day, to save my money to buy my tanks them. So when people want to go ahead and say, politician give me tanks and this and that, that's nothing to do with my business. I have no affiliation with those tanks. Those tanks are 1,000 gallons, and as you can see, we are giving out 650-gallon tanks.
The Tourism Enhancement Fund has provided a number of black tanks to be distributed to farmers who support the tourism industry. Mr. Wilson, who has already distributed more than 47 of them, has been storing the tanks at what he says is a strategic location in Negril. He explains the move is to cut the cost of transporting the tanks.
So to transport a tank from this particular location in Granger, it's about $2,000. And that is compared to transporting the tanks from Little London, which is probably 15, 20, or Nigel, which is 30, 40. So this will go a far way in reducing the cost for transportation on the farmers.
When contacted, Mr. Hills said he stood by his assertions in the video and would not be commenting further. Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
So there you have it. Hopefully this video has cleared up a lot of the misconceptions. You know, this is a very competitive political climate where you have the two parties going at each other. But at the same time, people must be responsible and don't seek to tarnish other people's reputation. Just as I'm sure Ian Hills would not like anyone to tarnish his. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for keeping my company, for listening to me as always, and liking and sharing the video. Until later on, walk good.